Hi, everyone. Good morning. We are so happy to join you with the Whisper Words of Wisdom podcast today with RC and Shirley B. So today, our subject is going to be a little bit diversified. We've decided to talk about some of the changes that are going on astrologically, how it's affecting people and their behavior moving forward, and I guess life and changes in life overall. Okay.
Yeah, that seems to be the topic of discussion. It's what we were discussing before we ever got on here. So I guess we'll just continue the conversation.
Yeah, well, we had a subject, and I actually was making notes yesterday and wrote notes around it and couldn't really remember what the subject is. So that's my fault. So I apologize. But that's what happens when astrology takes over your life sometimes. To take over, it just leads you, whether you want to be led or not sometimes. It's like once you start the journey, there's no going back, right, Shirley?
Oh, absolutely. And we all, we all have started this journey. Everyone that's listening to this was born, and that was the beginning of our journey. And we all have life experiences that we either tend to rely upon. Sometimes we rely upon it to our detriment because it's no longer serving us. And that's where that whole idea of change comes in. I mentioned that in what I put in one of our videos over the week on change. Do we resist it or do we embrace it? We're either going to be against it, hold on to something that needs to go because we need it, or we embrace it and let it take us where it's going to take us. I think those are very important things for us to be able to look at. And we were talking about life and death earlier as well. And, it's not a beginning and an end, it's a journey. And so when life begins and continues and continues and continues, we are continuing to live life repeatedly. But death also, when you begin to question your parents, like at age 2, when you learn to say the word no, right? Ooh, in a way, that's a little teeny tiny death of that total, complete dependence, not using your little mind, not using your little intuitiveness. I want to do this. No, you can't do this. For the first 2 years, whatever mommy, daddy says, you just kind of toddle along and do. And then
Yeah.
something shifts and you change, you
Well, you
know?
start to get your own mind, your
Mm.
own thoughts. You're starting to pay attention, become more aware of what's going on around you because everybody's automatically born that way. Everything after that is just a learned behavior. We've learned it from our parents, like we talked about last week.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you try to go against the flow of change and resistance, like you're talking about, I want to say you have a choice, but you don't have a choice. Because if you do believe in the astrology, resistance is the worst possible thing you could do. I think no matter how you look at it, spiritually or just as a human being, resistance is difficult, but people go kicking and screaming because they want to keep going back to what they feel is comfortable,
Well,
even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's unhealthy, because it's a familiar
mhm.
energy. It's a
Yeah.
familiar feeling. At least, okay, I don't know what's going to happen over here. I know what's going to happen over here. I might not like it, but I know, at least I know how to somewhat navigate.
Well, yeah, and in some ways we have developed habits around those things that we have learned to navigate. And and sometimes those habits were developed for good reason in relationships, when you care for someone and you want to be with that person and you don't want that to disrupt. And so internally, something has to change, but you don't want to look at that. So you change in the sense of you create a habit that enables you to live in that environment. And
Right.
it could be a relationship at work, it could be a relationship with a spouse, it could be a relationship with a child, you know. But eventually, those habits become a part of what we would call our personality. And we begin to lose ourselves to that persona that we've created. And so once you begin to get to that place where you go, oh no, this something's not right, and you begin to let go of that persona, you also end up letting go of some people, some old ideas. And so there you go. There's another death, right?
Right.
You know, we don't just live and die once.
No, no, it's
You
like
know,
the aha moments, the awakening moments. Like
mhm.
people, I love when people say, "Oh, well, they're not awake," or "I'm awake," or you awaken so many times during. I can't even tell you how many times I feel like,
Yeah,
bam, like it's an aha moment. And I
right.
think we awaken consistently throughout our lives at different times in our lives. And I think those moments are triggered by other things that happen, whether it be mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. If you're religious, if it's your religion or something, even just a change in environment can trigger something like that. But it is best to try to stay in flow, and that can be difficult. Can be difficult. And when you release, it is like a death. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And yet, and yet, when you once you let it go, once you release it, or them or whatever, there are often tears. There are often tears there, but at the same time, those tears are flowing because they couldn't flow. They just couldn't flow before. Um, and sometimes it's letting go of an old idea. I know when I divorced my first husband, and I only had two, this is my second one. I'm not going anywhere with this one. But when I divorced him, we I got together with him the day after we decided that we were going to get divorced, and I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. And he said to me, "If you're that sad about it, why are we doing this?" And I said, "Because it's not working. And it hasn't been working for a very long time. And I'm sad because I'm giving up a dream. I'm giving up what I hoped it would have been. I'm letting that go, and making that decision is sad." And he just looked at me like I had two heads.
totally
What?
didn't get it.
No, totally didn't get it. I should be happy. No, I'm not happy that this is happening. But I knew that I was not going to live well, or even live, period,
Right.
if I did not make a decision, that decision that I made. And it was probably one of the very first major decisions I ever made on my own, because nobody was giving me a lot of support for doing it.
Don't you think too that sometimes we all talk about love and how important it is, and it is important. It's a major part of our lives and who we are, and it affects the decisions that we make.
Absolutely.
Ever felt like sometimes in some relationships it's just not enough? That it doesn't matter how much you love somebody, if that person is not willing to meet you halfway, then unfortunately feelings like you just described happen.
Hmm. I think that I'll tell you what I told my husband. I said to him, "I don't know what this emotion is that I'm calling love, but it's killing me. And I'm going to find out what it is before I do this again, if I ever do this again." Okay, so what is that emotion called love? It could be a lot of different things. It could be just some kind of a connection, and it doesn't even have to be healthy, you know,
Like
but there's
forms of
something
love,
in,
right? Like
yeah, there's something inside of me
parents,
that says,
children.
yeah, it can be codependency. It can be in many, many things. It doesn't necessarily, it's what I called love then.
Right.
But what I wasn't even at that place where I could truly know who I was and love who I was when I married my first husband. I had no clue. Um, I just
I
had
think that
those
changes
feelings.
as well. Our
Mhm.
definition of love changes throughout our lives. I
Exactly.
remember someone saying to me one time years ago that when it hurts to have someone in your life the same way as it hurts to not have them in your life, do you really or should you really continue the relationship?
That was a good way to put it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, it's true. It is
Mm-hmm.
true because love isn't supposed to hurt. I'm not
No,
saying that you're never going to hurt, but I'm saying that if you're in what you think is a kind and loving relationship, it should not hurt every day.
no.
And the word sacrifice really shouldn't come in even into play because you're not making sacrifices. You are meeting someone halfway, which we also just got done talking
Yeah,
about before we came
right.
up, about meeting
Well,
someone halfway. Like I might like this and he might like that, and vice
right.
versa. There are things that you will like to do together and things that you will like to do individually. Because love is also it's give and take, it's balance. It's constantly a
It
game of balance. I don't even like to use the word game, but it should just flow. You should just willingly want to allow that person and not stand in the way of something that they love to do.
absolutely. Well, and I look at it as harmony.
Right.
When we're in harmony, first of all, with ourselves. And that's not an everyday thing. Sometimes we have to get back into alignment. We have to get back into that sense of harmony with ourselves. And that happens with me and it happens in our relationships. So whenever I feel out of harmony with in my relationships with people, I have to ask myself first, am I out of harmony with me?
Right.
And then I will check that. If I'm still in harmony with me and we're out of harmony with in my relationships, then we need to just have a conversation. Just have a conversation. We don't do that very well. We assume things before we talk about things. We assume that somebody thinks this or thinks that or whatever. And so the conversations don't often happen. But I think when we have those harmonious relationships, we can have those conversations. They just naturally take place. But first, like I said, I have to be in harmony with Shirley,
Right.
you know, because otherwise I'm pointing my finger at you and saying, blah, 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 you know. But those are all things, and we're talking about life and death, those are all things that tend to, if we are mindful, if we become mindful, and I think that's a journey. Mindfulness is truly a journey. Oh my gosh, because from most people for the first 30 years or so are, and maybe not so much today, I don't know, with the new generations coming in, and some of them are so mindful already. It's amazing. But for a lot of people, I don't think that we do things out of habit. We do things out of the persona that we created.
A lot of
We
people are still on autopilot.
Yeah, good word for it.
Yeah.
Yes, autopilot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing the expected stuff. What is expected of me, and what is expected of a man and a woman and a child, and blah blah blah. That I was in a restaurant the other day. I saw the most beautiful thing. There were two little boys with their mom and their dad, and dad was somewhere, maybe parking the car or whatever, and she had ordered, sat down, and you had to go pick up your food. And she picked up the one son who was young, maybe, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years old. But she picked him up and had the other child by her hand. And the little boy that she was holding a doll. I thought that was precious, absolutely precious, you know? Um, and it wasn't like a male doll or a girl doll. It was just a doll.
Right.
But I've never seen that. I mean, I've seen it in my own little circle, but uh, But that's the thing where you're not going to follow. Who the hell gives a you know what? If a little boy is holding a doll, I know that men love when men get into the whole idea of fatherhood, and some of the men that I have gotten to know, I mean, holding that baby, carrying that kid on their hip, it is, um, they have that nurture in them. They do.
So absolutely, absolutely. And it's not every man wants a son either. That mindset is so antiquated. It's so old fashioned, out of, I don't even know what to call it. Because I have seen men, these big, strong muscle men, just become mush around these little girlies,
Oh
like
gosh,
3 month old
everyone.
little girls with a diaper, with the little duck waddle diaper butt and the little pink frilly dress, and they
Yeah.
just pick them right up, and they just become totally
Mush.
transformed, like totally transformed. And I absolutely love that. Like I am someone who will sit and observe that.
Me too.
Like if I'm in the park and I see a young couple with their kids, and I'll be like, look at that. And the guy's just walking around. He's like this big, like his muscles are so big he can't move, and he just sweeps this baby right up, and and it's like, oh my God, you just became a totally different person. And
Yeah.
looks around to see if anybody's looking, and he puts the baby down, and he's a muscle man again until he gets around the bushes where he thinks nobody could see him, and he's loving that baby. And I'm just like, for Christ's sake, will you just love the baby? Don't you realize how sexy that is to a woman when you pick that baby up and you love that baby? Like
Well,
really, it's attractive. I
it's
love
very
I love to see
attractive.
that in a man. I love to see the feminine, soft side of a strong man. It does not mean you are strong or you are weak or you are not masculine. I love that. And I just found that so humorous last Sunday when I was in the park, because it was Mother's Day, and I was in the park. We were in the park, and I just I was laying on the grass after a big long hike around another mountain, Shirley, but got my feet in the water though. But we went to Cherokee. I don't know if you're familiar with Cherokee Park. The mountains aren't as high, but there is a nice watery area there. So I took my shoes off, put my feet in the grass, went in the water, and then laid down on the grass. And I was just watching all these families interact that had the little, because my kids are grown, all
Yeah.
these little children. And I was thinking, wow, times have really, really changed.
Well, I
Changed
have a
like
son. Yeah, I
yourself.
have a son that has always been like that, which is really, really, really terrific, you know. And but I never saw what I saw in person, and that bless you. And that was really, really neat. But that's the thing, you know, we get to that place where I think we have to let go of old ideas or we get suffocated, you know, and a lot of people when if we live in that same life for a long, long period of time, I think that's one of the reasons that people, you know, take their pleasure in alcohol or take their pleasure in other substances. I think um, that, you know, people, my former husband was a brilliant man, and he went on to college, had his engineering degree, one thing and another, worked for IBM. He was one of their analysts that they would send all over the world when they couldn't figure out what was going on in a particular company or a subsidiary of their company. And you know what he really wanted to do in his life? Because what his heart was in was woodwork, and not building, but designing. He could make any kind of furniture.
Wow.
He
And that's a
loved, I
gift.
mean, he would could cut roses into wood, and he loved it. It was his, it's what he loved to do, that, and he loved to cook. And he
That's
didn't like to cook like the basics. He liked to, you know, like a fancy French cook. And he was a 6'5" big guy. And And we talked about that on several occasions. Why don't we just, what would you do if you could just do anything? His comment was, I would move us to Canada and I would get us a farm and I would do woodwork and I would have the stand on the side of the road with all of my woodwork in it. And I said, well, why don't we do that? Nope, can't do it. That's not in the cards for me. That's not what we're supposed to do. We had 2 children at the time. Eventually we had 4. And my heart just broke. It broke for someone. And I saw, because he, as brilliant as he was, he hated what he did. Didn't like it, didn't like people, didn't like being around people, didn't like managing people, but he was a manager. And he got plenty of awards and lots of pats on the back and a lot of money. But his heart was never satisfied, you know?
And that's some of that is parental conditioning, how he grew up. He was doing what he thought he was supposed to be, which was the safe, stable job that would support the children rather than going into the unknown, the fear of the unknown and what would possibly happen. And you said something about finding comfort in alcohol. Was he finding comfort or was that his escape?
Well, I think with alcohol, because I have a history of being, at one point, a not recovered alcoholic, alcohol is very sneaky because you think you're going to find comfort in it. So you go into it for that ease and comfort that you usually do get from that first drink. You
Right.
take it, it goes down, it hits that space, and you go, ah, I can breathe, you
Yeah,
know.
it's
And
like
and there's
relaxing. You have one drink and it's relaxing. I'm
yeah,
not a big drinker. I never could hold my alcohol. You could ask anybody that knows me. I'm stupid after one glass of wine. I don't really drink. Only because of my body, well, some of it I don't like the taste of it, and I don't ever like to feel out of control. Anybody that knows me knows that. But it does have a relaxing effect.
it absolutely does. But then if that's why you're using it, because you can't get that effect from doing a good day's work.
Right.
God, that felt good. I got that accomplished. When I have a couple of coaching clients that I've talked to, or maybe I do a Reiki session or two, and my day is complete. I mean, everything I am is in the work that I do. And and I don't know that I feel any different when I have finished my day than I did when I started my day. But it's just that love energy because I'm doing what I love to do. And when you do what you love to do and it goes out into the universe, it also comes back to you. So there's this continuous flow, and it takes a people a long time. I had a client whose father was a doctor and her father died, and she loves biology. Um, and then she also loves physics and quantum physics. But she doesn't want to go to college. And so we've had long conversations about, why do you need to go to college? If that's not fine, these are beautiful: biology, quantum physics. There are a lot of areas that you can expand in.
Right.
Just be still, get to know who and what you are, and those things will materialize, but you're blocking it because you're saying, but I can't do that because I've got to do this, you know. And hers was a lot because her father had passed away when she was 17. And she obviously had another thing that she had to be doing, which was become a doctor, which she doesn't want to do. It's such a freeing experience to find yourself and see where that leads you, you know?
That's an awful expensive education for not wanting to be a doctor. Like that's a that's a big, yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
somehow I have a feeling that that person, if it's who I'm thinking it is going to eventually transition over to physics anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it.
No, I'm not. I'm not. No,
I
no.
really wouldn't, because I think that um
It probably is not because I don't think you've met her.
okay.
Yeah.
But
But this is a gal that reads that kind of stuff for joy. I would not be reading that stuff for joy.
I was going to say quantum
Stop.
physics is
Stop.
really,
Sorry
I
about that.
can go to a certain point. That's fine. What is it? The babies? You have one
Yeah,
little
it's Yoshi. Yeah.
Yoshi, so cute.
Yoshi.
But quantum physics is something that I can take small doses of, and I can only enjoy small doses at a time.
Hey, Yoshi, come here.
Just bring him up
I think,
camera. Who cares if he wants to
well,
sit in your lap? He's adorable.
no. He is looking out the window and there is a dog in the backyard of the next door neighbor.
Oh, well, we
So
don't
he
want
wants,
that dog to be in his own yard.
yeah, he just wants to let that dog know that he's up here. Of
Just
course,
protect.
that dog is like 3 times the size of him because he's only about that big. But anyway, but
It's
the whole,
always
yeah,
it's the personality. The personality is big. That's all that matters.
yeah, absolutely.
He can
But
hold his own.
the neatest thing about all of this is that, and I think the whole thing that we're working with right now is that it's important for us. Life can be long. Life can be long if we have the ability to, at some point in time, it doesn't matter when, look back on ourselves, become the observer of our thoughts, become the observer of our emotions and our actions, and ask ourselves, is this how I want to live my life?
Right.
You know, is this how I want my life to be going? Because if it's not, we do have within ourselves the power to make those changes. And again, we don't always do it. We were talking about this earlier too. We don't always do it by ourselves. It's like you and I together. You and I together are we're powerful forces on our own, but together we're an even more powerful, loving, energetic force. And when people are going through this process, and everybody goes through it, I don't think there are too many people in the world that don't go through this process of questioning, but oftentimes need permission to question and to look and then have a place to go or people like you and I to talk to when they have discovered this and want to then make a decision about their life, but need support and and guidance and wisdom.
It's interesting when when you sit and you think about a 2-year-old, and you can just envision them standing up with their little hands on their hips, just no, like really fierce and strong, but and fearless. And yet we as adults sometimes have struggled with using that word.
Absolutely.
And I always say it's one of the most empowering words on the planet, is being able to say no, and not out of, you know, meanness or anything else, but sometimes we've all done this in the past where we've overcommitted, and then we were trying to think, how can we get out of this? Well, with the truth, that's how you get out of it. You just say, I'm sorry, I overcommitted myself without realizing it. Can we change this? Can we move this? I'm available this day or whatever. Sometimes people aren't going to be happy with that, and sometimes they're going to be fine with that. That's not ours to carry.
Mm-mm.
That's the other person's. But I do try to be mindful of my time when I say no. Like I only really say no if I really have to, or if it's something that I do not believe in whatsoever,
Mm-hmm.
or something that I know that I'm not qualified to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think, no,
I'll
it's
wing a conversation like this because I know what we're talking about, but I won't wing something that I do not know. I will not pretend to know something that I do not know.
it's important to know that, isn't it?
Well,
It's a,
free flow conversation is one thing. Free flow with somebody's health, especially their mental health or their physical health, is a totally different story. And there's enough people like that out there that we need not participate in that.
Well, it was like I did a live, well, I did a thing today, a video today, and that's where togetherness comes in. You know, there are people, everyone has hopefully their profession that they are wise in, along with life. Hopefully, we all become wise about life and as we continue to process through it. So if you have something or a situation that is going in and on in your life and you need a professional, you know, you go see a doctor if it's a medical issue. You go see a psychiatrist. You go see a therapist. You go to physical therapy. Um, you know, you go see a priest or a minister or somebody that is dealing or is has the credentials to be able to work with somebody on a spiritual level.
Right.
You know, but that's the beauty that when I think of harmony and I think of harmony in a relationship, and I often think of how would it be if everyone could find that energy that blends with their energy, that there's that harmony. And oftentimes it's two people that look like they would never be involved with each other. That they're not a pair, but their energy is harmonious, you know, and we live in a neighborhood that's a circle. And one of the things I love about our neighborhood is that without ever speaking it, we were never told. Okay. A lot of children in our neighborhood, but without ever speaking it, without anyone ever saying anything to us, we came to realize that the children in this neighborhood own this circle. And what I mean by that is these are not, they are not kids that go out and that are outside on their phones all the time. These are kids that are on bikes, on scooters. They are pushing each other in whatever. They're playing games and they're in this circle and it is theirs. This is their playground.
Yeah.
And I tell people when they come to visit us, go slow. It says 20 miles an hour when you hit my neighborhood, my circle. You might want to go 10 or 15.
Right.
But but the harmony, and no one has ever said anything. No one has ever, I've never seen anyone yell at a kid. There's just this beautiful harmony that we all agree upon without ever having said that we agree upon it.
Isn't that beautiful when there's an unspoken balance
Yeah.
and harmony?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
some things really just don't need to be said. They're felt automatically felt in the energy through the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like on Sunday, the day in the park with the man with the little girl. Like, and I often wonder, like, would he have been different if it was a little boy? I'm not sure.
I
Now,
don't either.
I think little girls wrap their daddies around their fingers like magicians. I mean, it's just really magical what a little girl does to her daddy. A little baby a little 2-year-old little girl can bring a grown man to his knees. I think any child can bring anyone to their knees, but it's really, really interesting to watch how the roles have changed a lot through the years. Although I will say my children's father, he was really, really good. Like he changed diapers when men really didn't change diapers because we
Mm-hmm.
both worked. He worked shift work. So when he was off, he would, have the kids. And then when he would work, then obviously the kids would go with grandmom or whoever. And we were always mindful of that. But he was really good with the kids when it wasn't popular. Like when the
Yeah.
other guys would nudge him and go, "Hey, you're changing diapers?" And you go, yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And I watched my daughter wrap herself right around his finger. You know what I mean? Like, and my son as well. He had his grandparents wrapped. I mean, it's amazing. but anything will come out of kids' mouths. So we have a whole mixed bag of energy, and everything that's going on with that's kind of related to all these different types of changes that we're talking about and observations is in the astrology. So there's a lot of contradictory energy going on. So we discussed it a little bit, and I made my post this morning about Jupiter being 0 degrees in Taurus. Jupiter's expansion, its growth, any feelings or thoughts that you're having, it's going to magnify and intensify them. But Jupiter also has the ability to bring things to you. But that doesn't mean Jupiter's going to come set the bag of money from the bank in front of you. What that means is that you are to step into your growth and understanding and your wisdom and your knowledge and your learning what you've learned in the past and bring it forward. And you're going to work for that abundance and for that growth. And people that are sitting on the sidelines saying, oh, well, Jupiter's here and I'm going to get all this abundance. Yes, you are, but you're going to have to work for it. So I just wanted to make that clear, that it's not like the banker's going to come knock on your door and drop it on
Drop
you.
the money.
You have to participate in your own personal growth and journey. And we have, well, Uranus is traveling with the sun, and then we're going to have the moon on Friday. And but Uranus traveling with the sun as well, as Uranus is surprises. And so what more surprises are coming, because the sun shining with Uranus being traveling with the sun right now in its orbit. It's, what is it shining extra light on? What are we seeing that we weren't seeing before? What are we going to see? And it's also Uranus likes to shake things up.
Yes, I've heard that.
But when it shakes things up, anything can come up. It's not just the deep, dark places from the Scorpio South Node. South Node is what we're leaving behind. North Node in Taurus is the direction we're headed in. So Uranus is saying, I still have a surprise for you. But it also brings out secrets, I want to say. So if you're not who you say you are, you better get yourself educated and become who you say you are, because the truth is going to come out. And Pluto deconstructs to make room to release, to reconstruct. So now that's 0 degrees. And we have Mars getting ready to move into Leo. Mars wants to go. And as soon as it hits Leo, Pluto is going to square it, which is a hard aspect, which it's going to say, stop. So the universe is saying to Mars, go. And Pluto comes in and it's blocking it a little bit. And it's saying, okay, it's okay to go, but not yet. We're going to hold you back a little bit.
So patience is going to be the key word.
Patience is going to be the key word. Patience is more than a virtue. It's a necessity at this time.
I think that maybe the other two words might be force or flow.
Exactly. It's I'm going to say, from an astrological point of view, it's going to be, do not engage in rage.
Good one. I like that.
Do not engage in rage. Use that energy to stay in flow. Okay, so if you just learning to redirect, to navigate the energy, listen, there's no perfect setup. Everyone's chart is different, but the placements are what the placements are. The thing of it is I don't know which house each individual person's thing is in unless I'm looking at their chart. Like for me, my Taurus is my 4th and 5th house. Okay, 4th house is home and family, 5th house is joy. I've had a lot of changes in my family dynamic. I've had a lot of joy come into my life. And I've had some abundance come into my life because I just got a reimbursement check for a mistake that was made that I wasn't even aware of. That
Sweet.
actually, believe it or not, the government The government admitted they made a mistake and sent me some money back. So there we go. And who would expect that, right? So there we go. There is Saturn, it's structure, it's government, it's authority, it's top down, it's the great teacher. So what did we learn that we're bringing with us moving forward in order to continue to grow and transform? But, with last week we talked about the 3 piles with me moving, and it's still the same similar energy. And it's going to last for a little bit, but it's more about embracing the energy. Like you said, allowing the flow, learning to navigate it. And it's just through simple steps. Self-care is still really important. That's still up there at the top of the list because Venus is, still in Cancer. Mars is still in Cancer as we speak now. I think it's going to be like either Friday night or Saturday, Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be moving into Leo. So, and Mars really wants to get out of Cancer because he's really uncomfortable there. It's not a placement that's comfortable for Mars because he's fire, he's fuel, he's energy. He wants to go. He's like, okay, you hugged me, you kissed me, now let me go. And Venus just wants to nurture and cuddle, and Cancer is that mother energy. So there'll be push pull, be up, it'll be down, it'll be up, it'll be down. And you might feel that push pull in you where like one day is great and one day maybe you feel a little bit off and you're not really sure why, or just maybe a temporary moment of something that just, angers you and you're not like really sure why. I'm just gonna, like, why am I being so pissy? What happened all of a sudden? Like something changed in the energy. Like right now, I have a super high frequency going through my brain. It's like all I can do to focus. And I know what it is. I know it's my Pluto and my Jupiter placements. So once you learn those placements and how it does make your whole life easier to navigate. So
Well, one of the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say all the changes that everyone is experiencing. Everyone's experiencing something, but it's not going to be exactly the same exact experience. But the emotion might be the same, but the application might be different depending on the house. So,
Right. Well, I was going to say because I did a post this morning and it's about all of this, and it's about togetherness, and it's about you don't have to know all that you think you need to know about astrology as long as you know somebody who does. Uh,
that
because
that's
you
true, but
know,
you can just feel into yourself.
right, you can
You might
just
not know
feel
the
into your
planet, you might not know the cause, but when you feel off.
right. And if you feel off and you think it might be astrological, hey, there's many of things that you can there are awesome apps. There are um things that I get a moon reading every day. I get a sun reading every day. If I choose to look at them, sometimes I do because I'm not sure what is going on here. I feel a little wonky and I think, well, let me go check these things out. They're very supportive when I do that. But for so long, in order to be a certain way, I thought I had to know all of everything, and you can't know everything. And if you're not called to it, if it's not your calling, then let someone else have that calling and share it with you.
If you're not called to it, I don't want to say you can't do it. I want to say it will be so difficult that you would probably want to give up because it's a never ending education.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming. There have been like days where I don't even look at the astrology. I take a step back and I take a breath. I'm like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I have an idea of what it is, but do I really need to know today?
I need to dig into it today. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
today the day I want to dig for the hidden treasure? Let me just take a step back. And it's ever changing. The astrology right now the reason why it just sounds like everybody keeps saying the same thing is because we are saying the same thing, because the planets that are in play are like Jupiter's the largest planet. And the further out the planet is, and the more, and so much has shifted at one time over the last few months. I mean, like, for example, Neptune's been really active. Neptune only changes signs every 250 or 60 something years. I was born with Neptune in the 12th house, and I'm going to die with Neptune in the 12th house. My daughter and my grandchildren are going to die with Neptune in the 12th house. I mean, you're talking about a generational planet. Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, Saturn. We're talking, well, Saturn changes like every 15 years, or every 15 years we go through our Saturn return. But when you're talking about a planet being in one sign for 200 and something years, think about the power that yields that. Okay, that's behind that. So Neptune right now is also a major player, and it can be illusion, it can be disillusion, it's can be harmony in the right, in the right placement, I want to say, in the right angle, depending on the other planets around it. It can be the psychic. It's what a lot of people call the planet of the Great Spirit, because it brings all of that woo-woo kind of energy into play. It's like a godly type energy. But some of it can be fantasy and some of it can be reality. It's like heaven on earth when the placements of the other planets are just bring those perfect conditions. It's Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. It can be, but it also can be just something like, that blows Zeus out of the water. We don't know. We don't know. We could blow Neptune out of the water. We could blow Zeus out of the sky, the lightning bolts. You don't know each person's charts. It's more about the size of the planet and the years that it spends in the location that it's at.
Well, see, and that's information that I didn't know. So
Right.
you see what I'm saying? Having a friend or someone else who knows all of this and who is willing, because they're called to it. They're called to it because that's their calling. That's one of their gifts, is to investigate and to share that with others, to help to support what we are going through as we go through this cycle of life and death and life and death and life and death. It will give us some support for all of that, and sometimes some intuition as to how to deal with certain things that are happening at certain times.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. It's the beauty of not having to know everything that is out there to know in order to be in harmony in yourself and in alignment and have a spiritual connection. All too often people think, well, that person knows everything about crystals or oils or astrology, so they must be really, really spiritual. And if I don't know that, then I'm not going to be as spiritual as they are. And the whole idea of joining
No one knows everything about anything.
anything,
Let's make
that's
that
right.
clear. No one knows everything about anything. It takes a village.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And we have to open ourselves up to engage with that village.
And you are talking about the Aquarian energy.
Well, there you go.
It's being an individual in a group environment where you can voice your opinion without judgment and be accepted. It's knowing that each person carries a specific frequency or piece of the puzzle that makes the whole picture.
And it's beautiful.
So you
And
speak astrology without even knowing it. Most 9 out of
see
10.
that. See, that's the neat thing.
Yeah, and you have to be comfortable in not knowing.
Well, see, that's why I like hanging out with you.
Well, I'm totally clueless in a lot of areas. So, but yeah, it's a challenge. I enjoy it, but I enjoy helping people learn about themselves through their chart. And it does help them navigate their life. It's not going to answer all their questions. It's not going to change the baby's diapers. It's not going to get up at 2 a.m. and feed the baby, but it does help you understand certain areas. And it is no different than going to a counselor for guidance or to a therapist for guidance, like you said. And there's no shame in that, really. You know what's a shame is that when you know you have an issue and you don't seek that guidance, you
Yeah.
don't seek that help, you don't ask that help. That's the only time that's shameful, is that
Well,
when you don't seek the help that is available to you. And it could be because you're not ready to. It's not a
well, it also
not a
can be
judgment.
because you're fearful.
Exactly. It's not a
I mean, most people want to get better, but they're fearful. Like you said earlier in this presentation or in this conversation, I should say today, you said, oh, I forget what it was now that you said, but fear takes on many personalities. It isn't always, you don't always think you're fearful. Oh, I know, when you become comfortable in your discomfort,
right.
that's just a form of fear.
Yeah.
You know, I'm afraid of stepping out. I'm afraid of asking for help. I'm afraid that somebody will know that I'm really not happy in this job, that everybody tells me, "Oh my God, you must love that work. Oh my God, and you're making all that money. Boy, you're so lucky." And you're thinking, "Oh God, do I hate this job?" And you don't want to tell anybody
It's
because
the mask. It's the
we're-
mask, right?
yes, yeah, because this is what the society that you're living in. It doesn't have to be the global society or your state society. It's just the little bubble that you live in is saying, this is, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You are so lucky to do da 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 da. And you're not. And you know that old saying, to thine own self be true. And the most important thing we can ever learn is, how do I find that self?
You
How
know,
can I find buried beneath all of the old ideas, all of the old agreements that I've made over a lifetime to people, places, things, ideas, situations? How do I find who I really am? And that was one of the parts of this whole journey that we were talking about before, with all the changes in astrology, going back those 12 years that we talked about and asking ourselves, so what did you learn? What did you let go of? How did it feel?
how far have you come without even realizing it?
How far? And that, one of the things I do with people, oftentimes in my clients, I have them do a timeline of what's been going on over a certain period of time for them to be able to really look at, number one, the progress that they have made. Many times we don't give ourselves enough credit for the obstacles we have overcome to make the progress that we have made. We just don't. And when I ask them to do a timeline, starting at a certain place, move forward, I want to know everything that's going on in your life. I want you to know everything that's been going on in your life. What did you do? How did you overcome it? And and it's unfortunate, but I will say this, that when people hire someone, pay money to someone, and they give them an assignment like that, they'll do it. But when someone says to someone, I think you ought to do a timeline, I don't have any skin in the game, I think, because it's not money skin. I've got my whole life in the game. And I put it off and I put it off and I put it off, until then I get so sick that I go to somebody and pay them the money and they tell me to do it. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people say to me things I've told them because they're paying me. And they say, my mother told me to do that. I would say, well, maybe you should have listened to your mother.
Listen to their mother, right? Listen to their mother.
But society tells us that if I'm not paying for it, it doesn't have value.
That's
Or
true.
I just spent this money on this, I better do it.
Or if you don't make this much money, you're not good at what you do.
Yeah.
You're not successful if you don't make this much money.
But I think we're going on, you and I, we can go into so many topics.
Yeah, but it's all the same energy is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
It's all the same energy. It's
exactly.
being in the unknown. It's the would have, could have, should have's.
Hmm.
It's the past,
Hmm.
which is gone.
And fear of the future.
Fear of the future. Fear
Yeah. And if
that's
we
what
can just,
needs to be released. That fear of the unknown really needs to be released.
and that way you can stay in the present. You can live in the uncertainty of the future while you're living in the certainty of who and what you are. That allows you to move forward.
You know, you know what's really funny about it? Because
What?
I remember living in fear.
Me too.
Okay. And I really couldn't even really tell you. I could give you steps that I remember, but there were certain things that I really didn't remember because there was trauma involved because of the trauma. And little, like, I'll be like, oh, somebody will say something. I'll be like, oh, yeah, that resonates. Yeah, that happened to me. Yeah, I actually forgot about that. And that'll trigger that memory. So the memory will come back. But I don't react to it in the same way.
Exactly. Hmm.
But everybody's so worried. They want to be so secure. But is there really such a thing? I mean, we live in 2023 where we don't know what's going to happen from moment to moment within our own country, let alone our our daily life. Okay. And I want to say, stop looking for the security in everything because there really isn't any anywhere. And not to scare people, not for people to live in fear, but to understand that the ebb and flow of life is constantly changing and that you could win the lottery and become a millionaire overnight, or you could make a poor investment and lose all of that money overnight. In the blink of an eye, your life can change. And that's not just words coming from a middle aged woman, those are facts. Just turn on the TV, which I don't do. I used to get my news from friends. I mean, I've had somebody in England call me up and go, what's going on in your country? I'm like, I don't know what's going on in my country. I really don't know. I mean, I really didn't know. I truly live in my own bubble. I mean, I'm not out of touch with reality, but I pick and choose what I
Hmm.
want to listen to. Like I'm
You
not
want
gonna
to focus on.
yeah, I'm not gonna listen to a year and a half of politics. When we get down to two people, if I have time, I'll listen to what you have to say. But I'm
Yeah.
not wasting my
And
time.
and so the thing that you're really, what I hear you saying is that if we can let go of the need for certainty, for uh knowing that everything's going to be okay. What?
Magic cure. There is no
Magic.
magic
And
cure.
yeah,
There is no magic answer,
we get to then be still and focus on the moment, the now.
which is what you're able to do today. And I'm not because Neptune is my ruling planet.
Well, you
Actually,
know,
Jupiter and Neptune are my two ruling planets, and they are buzzing through my brains. So
yeah.
thanks for holding that together today.
But it is the reality of it all. If I and even when we can move, we can get caught up in an idea, and then we can attempt, make a condition, make it an attempt, knowing what's going on to bring ourselves back to, okay, so what's happening now? Where are my feet? Is my head perpendicular to my feet, or is my head all the way out there or over here? Bring it back, bring it down, connect, all of those little things. I mean, I have to use sign language sometimes when I'm doing that. It's like, Shirley, you're all out here. You need to bring it back. Okay, take a deep breath,
I
bring
do
it
that
down,
all the time.
bring it in. Yeah, because we can. I mean, we
Beautiful
live in a
exercise.
society that doesn't want us to live in the now.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a beautiful exercise to stretch out,
Hmm?
to bring it in.
Hmm?
And I go over my head
Hmm?
and I go straight down to my waist. And then I turn my hands down and go down
There you
and
go.
come back
Hmm.
up like this. It is a beautiful grounding exercise and it
It
will help
is.
you pull your energy in. It redirects your focus. And people can make fun of us and talk about our woo-woo guru, whatever they want to call it. But, and don't knock it till you try it, because you don't
That's
have to be spiritual at all. It really does. No, it's that, and breath work will bring you, reel you in, and help.
right.
Yeah. Really
Absolutely.
important to be centered and to try to, you're not always going to stay grounded. You're not always going to stay centered,
No.
especially like for me, Neptune energy. I'm floating all around. Like this side of my brain somewhere, and this side of my brain is somewhere else. I know, I'm serious. Like
And I'm
my,
trying to keep you right here.
yeah, I'm left in my brain today. Like it's like me today is like trying to get an alcoholic that is blowing like a 5-0 to walk down the straight line and touch their nose. There's no way possible. I'm I'm like this.
Well, I think you're doing a
I'm riding the
beautiful.
wave. And as long as you're riding the wave, you're surfing the wave, it's okay. It's as long as when you get stuck in one spot, which is the energy that might be coming in, that you might be feeling stuck, but you're really not stuck. And if you think that you are, it's only going to be for a day or two, and it's going to start moving again. And reach out. I always tell people, reach out. I'm here, you're here, Tracy's here. Tracy helps with admin here, even though she's not on video. She's in the UK.
But
But
there's so many, there are so many people that have friends and so many people that you can reach out to if you're feeling stuck. There's no, you don't have to stay stuck when you're feeling stuck. And that's just something we all have to learn. And the biggest thing is I'm afraid to call because I don't know what I'm going to say, and I don't know what they're going to say. And you don't have to say anything. Just make a phone call, pick up the phone, get on Messenger and text somebody. There are just so many ways of connecting because together we can create that harmony. Yeah, together because life is going to continue to flow. But if we can stay present, we can absolutely feel the love and the harmony within ourselves, and we can also begin to connect with that with others.
and most of us are feeling and that feel energy anyway.
Mhm.
As soon as they see your message, they don't even have to hear your voice. We'll know. Like
Yeah.
I've actually gotten messages from Tracy. Hey, are you okay? What's going on? I just felt something shift with you. And,
Hmm.
and it might be it might not be something bad that's going on. It's just something, that's happening, and there's no positive or negative. It's just something that shifted in the energy. And most people that know you will automatically know that. And I have found that many times the people that bring me the most comfort are the people that can just sit with you. They don't really need to say anything.
Just be there with you.
Exactly. Exactly. You're good at that because you're a better listener than I am. And you're almost always centered. And
Well, let's put it this way. 18 years from now, when I am 78, 88, 96, I will say the same thing about you, and maybe even sooner.
I mean, I'm better at it than I was.
Absolutely. You are wonderful.
Better than I was. I'm a lot calmer than I was. I'm a lot happier than I was. I can't stress how much it comes from within.
abs-
I really can't. And just in all of this, what's going on, if you can release the fear
absolutely.
and have
It's
patience, I would say those would be probably the two most important things. And the
mhm,
third one would be to reach out for help if you feel stuck,
mhm.
and to not feel shame or blame or embarrassed or like somebody's going to judge you. And when I say reach out, I mean reach out to somebody, a professional or somebody that you know and trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
because you have to feel
obviously,
comfortable with that person. There does have to be a level of safety and security, a secure feeling, even though it's almost impossible to get that in the world today.
oh, it is not. It is not. Come on now.
It is,
You
but it is. It is, but it
okay?
isn't.
People that are watching this podcast know that they can reach out to either of us, and we would be there for.
That's true.
And
But
there are a lot of
I
people. I know there are a
what I
lot of
meant was
people.
referring back to the sense that anything can happen overnight, and people are all looking for the magic answers, and they're all looking for security, which can change from literally blink
That
to blink of an
absolutely. But as far as talking to people and safety, if you're listening to us, if you're in any of our other Facebook pages, I have a Facebook page, by the way, that is called I Am Awakening.
yeah.
It isn't I'm awake, I am awakening, and it's an ongoing awakening. But you know, we're there. There's when we talk about the people that we know, Tracy is in England. Is she now still in England? Right?
Yeah, she's in the UK. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 5 hour
So,
time. She's 5 hours ahead of us.
so when people when people with what we have now, with all the technology that we have today, we have connected all over the world with people just like us, people that are loving, caring, harmonious, have the kind of energy that we connect with, that we are embracing. And the reason that we do this is because, you know, we want to share that with everybody, and we want
We
others
have a
to know
whole,
that they're there.
we have this whole network. We have Tracy in England. We have Leslie in Ireland. We have, I don't know if you know Judy or not. Judy is in Canada.
And
Uh,
Natalia Wales.
right. And who else? Yeah,
Well,
Natalia in Wales and
Louise is in UK.
Louise is,
Uh,
um, Suzanne is in New Zealand. Jeanette
yes,
Wilson
a
is
couple of
in New
people.
Zealand.
Yeah, in New Zealand.
Craig is in New Zealand. I mean, I think, well, he might be, I'm not sure if he went back to Africa or not. I know he was there for a while. I'm not sure if he went back to
And
New Zealand or not,
and we have
because
a number of people that we have
all
connected with
over.
in all states as well in the United States.
Oh,
So
yeah. I mean,
this energy of love, this
any time zone, we can refer you to, if
yeah,
we're not available or we're not your cup of tea, we can refer you to people that we know that we've worked with that you can trust and feel safe with. When
yeah.
someone talks to Shirley, Shirley doesn't even talk to me about it.
Oh
I don't
no.
know her clients' names. I know a couple of her clients only because we were all in a class together or we've all studied something together at one time. Other than that, we don't even talk about our individual clients to each other. I might say, I have this person, or she might say, I have this person. What would be your take on it, just for a second opinion or something like that? It would be just like going to a doctor and asking a second opinion from another doctor. But what is given, our conversations are kept private. I have
And
never discussed or given a client's name ever,
no.
nor will I.
So and the only reason I'm saying that is that I want people to realize that the world is not CNN or Fox News. Okay. The world is the harmony that we all bring into it. Because if we want to see those two things change, if we want to see change in the world, it starts here. It starts here in our own being and becoming harmonious with ourselves, harmonious with that higher power that is within us, whatever we call it. It's becoming harmonious with other people as we are doing right here with each other, our spouses, our children, our neighbors. You know, you don't have to take it out to the universe. Take it here first. Take it to your home, inside your home first. Take it to the fellowships that you belong to, the church that you're involved with. Take it into your neighborhood. That's what is going to change this beautiful world of ours. That
Right.
is what's going to change it. And
Always
when
connected to the spirit anyway. I mean, you're a fragment of God.
absolutely,
You're always connected. It's whether you
absolutely.
tap in or not.
Well,
But
it's whether or not we really get it. Like we talked earlier, we can have a lot of information up here. We can have a lot of knowledge up here, but until the gumball drops
the
and we
application,
get it in here and we know it. We don't think it. It's not even a belief anymore. It is isness. It is. It is that harmony. When we embrace that, Other people are drawn to us who are either seeking that or who already know that themselves and want to continue to embrace and be involved with other people like that. Yeah.
And we're
That
talking about the crone energy again, where we can give it to you. We can provide the information to you, but it's up to you how you choose to use it. And the wisdom and knowledge comes through the crone energy of learning how to apply what you have learned moving forward.
that's absolutely. Yeah. And it's a beautiful journey. It really, really is. And it's not, for me, it wasn't the kind of journey that I spent half of my life doing, which was trying to figure it all out and then eventually being embraced by some people that my energy was matching up with theirs. Theirs was well, a bit higher than mine at the time, but they embraced me and I have grown and grown and grown and let go, life and death, let go, continue to live, die, continue to live, die. That's kind of that's the ebb and flow of life.
And the energy when you know, when you talk about this and this one's job is to lift this one up.
That's right. Absolutely.
Help,
Because we are,
not
yeah,
carry all the weight, but help. You have to do your part, and people will help lift you up because it
absolutely.
really isn't our job to drag people behind us, but it is
Yeah.
our job to help guide them.
So, my friend, shall we wrap this one up for today?
This is a wrap up. I was just going to say, and that let's end on that note. And I'm going to thank you for all of your words of wisdom today. Thank you for
Thank
helping to keep me centered in this Neptune energy. It really has been. It's not hard. Like, I'm not upset. I'm not anything. It's just hard for me to stay focused because
I'll be down in a minute. Sorry.
those are my ruling planets. Those are my like
Yeah.
Jupiter and Neptune are my ruling planets. So it's a little crazy for me right now. But
So I'm going to let you go. My darling husband had made lunch for me.
hi, Bob. Enjoy lunch.
So I'm going to
Beautiful day.
thank you, my love. You too. And anyone that's watching this, I certainly hope that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And we'll
Give
catch
me
up.
your page again, your group page for people.
Um, oh, the I Am Awakening.
I am awakening.
I Am
Okay.
Awakening
Find that page on Facebook.
on Facebook. Yeah, you can. And of course, you can always find me here or on Shirley Ballman.
Right.
Okay.
Someone wants some one-on-one counseling.
Yeah. Oh, if anybody wants to contact me, please. Either way, any way you want to, I'll respond. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Love you.
Sending
So
everybody
much
so
love.
much love. Enjoy your week. Namaste.
Namaste.